and two, we don't need to hear it. Sources tell me Clay Helton's having lunch right now. Sources tell me Clay is enjoying time with his family. Right? Stop. And it's USC's fault for creating the door for you to walk through to make that joke, but we don't need it.
They can't control their own information.
And I wonder, well, we'll get to it.
Get to it. They've got to say it, Matt. They've got to say.
He's staying.
Say whatever you got to say.
Or he's fired.
Say something. Say it. Say it. Fire the man.
Spit it out.
Keep him. Start a fan revolt or a giant itis of apathy, a huge malaise over the people. But whatever it is.
You got to say something.
Say it. Say something about what's going to happen.
If you've got an assistant to the assistant in the athletic department that's going to retweet Maya with a comment that says, oh, we're just making up stuff now. It's reporters making stuff up season. If you have someone who is an official employee of your university, the athletic department and the football program on Twitter saying that in a retweet comment, you bet your ass you better say something. You better make some sort of statement, either denying the statement that was made by Maya or firing freaking Clay Helton already so we can get past it. I'm tired of it.
What Matt is referring to is a man by the name of Adam Maya, who's a longtime LA media member who now works for Sports Illustrated. Now, Adam Maya is the guy that came out yesterday and said, sources say, and this guy works for Sports Illustrated. It's not like he works for some double-directional blog, and he says Clay Helton's going to get fired. And then another guy that works for Sports Illustrated, a former PMS guest by the name of Pat Forty, a very
well-respected,
reputable writer, doesn't go to Maya, his colleague. He goes to a source at USC, which is probably somebody that works at USC, I can promise you that, and calls them, and they say, well, nothing's happening. Well, because that person doesn't know, because the AD's not telling that person. So this guy, Pat Forty, goes on Twitter and attacks the other guy, Adam Maya, and then Pete Thamel, who's very tight with Pat Forty, and Bruce Feldman, who's very tight with the source. They come out, and now you have a seven-nation army, so to speak, all up against one mouth-breathing guy, Adam Maya, who is the guy that shot his shot yesterday and said Clay Helton's going to get fired. But the truth is that USC is just sitting on their hands. They've said nothing, and you have a December 18th early signing day. Right now, USC is fighting it out with Tulane for the 70th spot with that recruiting class. There are
Green Wave don't go down easy.
Oh, they had a great year.
That's a powerful wave.
They had a great year.
They had the most iconic regular season moment on national television, as a matter of fact.
Without a doubt, Matt. I love the Green Wave.
Who's ahead right now, SC or Tulane? Because it's a ding-dong. We might have to get Tim Conway on to talk about the ding-dong.
I think it's New Mexico in there, too.
Okay, all right.
Punching some punches.
Look out for the Lobos.
Shooting their shot. Who else is in there? Air Force. Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, some stubby-legged white guys have a better recruiting class than USC right now. And I'm sure that would improve if they kept Clay Helton, but I'm sure it would improve exponentially if they made some kind of move. But apathy is setting in, and just because you hire a new AD, I think it's a pretty good indicator that this doesn't solve all your dysfunction problems. This is pure, classic, textbook, central casting USC dysfunction. And somebody's got to say something, Matt, just like Sam Kinison in Back to School. Say it!
Say
right?
It! Say it!
Oh.
Say it!
Say it! Say it!
So who's Thornton Mellon? Is it Bone? Is it
Bone.
Fold?
It's got to be.
It's got to be Bone.
Well, what happens is Bone writes 5 names on a piece of paper. Mike Bone, the old Bonerino, the USC AD, writes 5 names on a piece of paper and hands it to the new president of USC. She uses the same pen or perhaps a different pen off of her desk. I would imagine encrusted in gold and diamonds. USC's a lot of money.
Big endowment.
It's not a Marriott pen like this one. And just circles a name, and the Bonerino does like the Shooter McGavin double guns to her and walks out and hires the guy.
Picks up the phone.
Yeah, and pays that guy what it'll take to get that guy to USC to coach some of the best athletes in the country at college football and recruit some of the best athletes in the country in college football. But right now, you still have, and Matt, you're the one that used the analogy, so I'm going to use it again, the draining the swamp when it comes to USC. because obviously a lot of people are being removed and replaced because of their controversies over the years. You can't just drain the swamp. The swamp fights back.
They're lifers.
And the swamp has friends in the media that are hanging on with their long-ass fingernails. I mean, Pat Forty's a good writer. And that guy tweeted out yesterday that maybe, likely, Clay Helton stays.
Can't do that.
Really, Pat? Maybe, likely? You're a good writer. Maybe, likely, for God's sakes? Who the hell told you that? You bought that line. What the hell is wrong with you, maybe, likely?
I would say if you're going to write maybe likely, and I'm stealing this from Wilner because he's arguably the greatest person that writes about the Pac-12, but in his article that he wrote about Clay Helton and how it would cost a truckload and a half to keep him, it was a brilliant piece.
That came out on Sunday, right?
Maybe likely can't happen because of the point he made, which is if your coach is maybe likely, he's not your coach. That's not your coach. If your coach being retained is a maybe likely situation, then you can't retain him. And Wilner's point was, if things go sideways and it's the middle of November and you haven't had the season you had hoped for, are you going to dismiss Clay Helton? If the answer is yes, which it is, then he's not your guy. If you say, hey, even if things go sideways next year, we like this guy, we believe in this guy, he's the face of our program, we're going to go through rough and we're going to celebrate success with him regardless of what the outcome is, then he's your guy. But
say it!
Exactly.
Say it!
And because you're not saying it, he's not your guy. So just fire him
exactly.
already.
And
Fire
that's
him
the point.
already.
If your USC sources were so good and they maybe likely would keep him, then how come the USC sources haven't stepped up from within the university and said, hey, guess what? We're going to keep this guy. We're going to keep this guy.
What changes between now and whenever the announcement is made that maybe likely is their current position on Clay Helton? It can't be. There's nothing that's going to change. What, you're going to get the Poinsettia Bowl instead of the Las Vegas Bowl? And hey, you know what? We got a better bowl.
They are getting the Holiday.
If we don't get the Holiday Bowl, Clay's out. Now, if we get the Holiday Bowl, it's ridiculous.
Now, the other guy you mentioned was Gavin Morris, who's an associate athletic director at USC, who tweeted out the only thing close to an official denying of the original Adam Maya report. And Gavin Morris' post said, it's the season of let's make stuff up. That was that one. And
you can't have that guy do that and not have an official statement from the university.
And that's a denial without the approval of the athletic department. The truth is USC still can't handle their own information. They still can't handle their own situation. And even though they hired a guy who's a real athletic director, he's yet to prove, and the clock's ticking, that he knows how to hire or fire anybody. And that is the same old embarrassment, which is really exasperating and I think disillusioning for USC people. Now, we are officially on Helton Watch, and I expect him to be fired by the time we get to Monday Night Football. Don't you, Matt?
I would hope so. And look, if you think that's mean because a guy's losing his job and assistants are losing their job
Willie
and all
McGinnis
that.
is going to call me up and say, a man's going to lose his job. Yeah, a guy might lose his job here, Willie. It happens sometimes.
The Clay Helton's fine. Clay Helton's going to get $20 million.
Yeah,
he's got a buyout.
Or the UNLV job.
It's right.
Or the Memphis job.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
We don't need to worry about us being all mean and terrible through the. This is what you sign up for.
Well, what is going down?
I can't imagine they're dragging this thing out for the purpose of keeping Clay Helton. And, it looks like amateur hour right now. And I can't believe Mike Bone, who has been an athletic director, like I heard you say earlier, is handling it this way. This reminds me of, I'm sure you remember this, when Mike Garrett was the athletic director. He kept John Robinson twisting in the wind for a week or two because he wanted to have a coach lined up before he fired Robinson, and he eventually got Paul Hackett and then fired Robinson on his answering machine. But that's the only thing I can figure right now, that they're talking to somebody. The fans hope it's Urban Meyer, but trying to get somebody to take the job before they officially fire Clay Helton.
Wolfie, there's, buzz out there, rumors that certain coaches are interested. It seems like there's more than one capable coach that's interested. Do you think this is at all the old guard trying to leak information about Clay and the new guard just not caring and doing their business as they want to do their business and not on some timeline that maybe some people that have been there for a while are trying to get them to do their business?
Well, I think there's a lot of people who don't know what's going on, and they're trying to speculate. I've talked to a couple donors who have suspected that something would happen today. I talked to a member of the Board of Trustees last night who thought maybe something would happen today. But really, I think Mike Bone and probably Carol Holt are the only people who do know what's going on. And I know that's frustrating a lot of people, including myself, because I just would like this to get resolved one way or another. But, you know, he's going to be judged on this, and maybe he'll hit a home run when it's all over. But right now, he's striking out as far as I'm concerned.
Don't know, if you can share with us what you've heard about Graham Harrell and his future out of Texas. They're saying that he is going to be offered that offensive coordinator job. If you want to get a raise, that's typically the school that you would like to have be rumored to be interested in your services because of how deep their pockets are. How important is Harrell to the school, considering his work with Keaton Slovis in this first year?
Well, I think if they hire a new coach, the new coach will decide who he wants to be offensive coordinator. So it's going to be totally up to the new coach. But if they keep Clay Helton, they have to do everything in their power to keep Graham Harrell. And, you know, I've been critical of him during the season, but obviously, you know, Clay Helton is working well with him and needs him on his staff. So, you know, it's also up to Graham Harrell. Does he think coming back is going to help him? Is Helton going to be on a one-year deal? I mean, Tom Herman probably will be too, but it's going to be up to him whether he'd rather live in Texas or Southern California. And the guy's kind of a hick, so it wouldn't surprise me if he wanted to go to Texas.
The great Scott Wolf joining us right now on the Petros and Money Show. You're a wolf. Get out of this town. We're talking about the Clay Helton situation. Let's say they do keep Clay Helton, Wolf. What do you think the reaction will be from donors, from fans, from the general media, from everybody except for a few writers in the South Bay and people like that?
Well, I talked to a donor. Just to give you an example, you know, I've talked to donors who've donated 7 figures, and they've told me they will not renew their tickets if Clay Helton returns next season. So,
well,
you know, if that's the way. What's that?
I said that seems like that's that, right? I mean, they're the ones that decide, don't they?
Well, you know, we don't know for sure right now because of this new administration how much power they have. Other than Rick Caruso, the chairman of the board, Carol Holt and Mike Bone, I'm not sure, you know, who matters. Wayne Hughes seems to be waning right now with his influence. So I'm not sure, but if that's the way the most loyal donors are talking, imagine the regular fans. And, you know, maybe you'll have torches and pitchforks outside Heritage Hall. But I think a lot of people are ready to just totally write off the program if they keep Helton.
We don't like to, and when I say we, I mean Petros doesn't typically like to put a lot of stock in the old recruiting rankings, but it is an important part of college football. Wolf, in all your years covering this university, do you feel like this is a low point as it pertains to their viability with high school recruits?
I mean, since the rankings have been established, this is the worst class in history, and I don't think it's going to get better if you put a Band-Aid on the program and say Helton's coming back for one more year, because all the good players are still going to want to go to the SEC or other schools, and they're not going to believe Clay Helton's going to turn things around next year. So I don't see how recruiting recovers, and then it hurts you with the juniors. So you're basically, I think, throwing away your recruiting by keeping him around, whereas a guy like Urban Meyer could come in and, you know, he could immediately get, I've heard 3 or 4 5-star guys to change their mind. So it's up to them. I mean, recruiting's the lifeblood of every program, so you got to decide.
Is that Wolfie's bat phone that's ringing? Is that the news?
Is
that the breaking news?
Yeah, I got a million phones I have to track right now because I'm waiting for an announcement.
Oh, yeah.
So are we, Wolf. Thank you for coming on and lending your expertise to it, Scott. You're always the best, especially in these situations. Scott Wolf, everybody.
Thank you.
There he goes, Scott Wolf.
At Inside USC.
On Twitter.
On Twitter.